It's playtime at a school outside Stockholm. The young children you see here have all fled violence in Syria or Iraq. Now they're treated as Scandinavians, as Europeans. We've been asked not to show their faces. Even here, their parents fear the terror they've escaped. In the years since the school's been open, its numbers have soared. Sweden grants any Syrian who makes it here immediate residency. Maths is taught by Nahia Akar, born here but Syrian by heritage.
Here in Södertälje we have shown that we can live together and work together.
But there are difficulties too, you were telling me.
Yes. Maybe that too many have come together, and I believe and think it is not good for them or not for us.
This is the center with the shops, a lot of immigrants here.
Afram Yakub is worried too. He arrived from Syria 26 years ago, an immigrant now concerned about immigration.
This school, you see, it has around 500 students, but I think it's only one ethnically Swedish student in the school.
And do you think other European Union countries should be taking more people?
The problem is that even if they would take in more people, even if they would take in as many as Sweden does, it wouldn't solve much of the problem. The solution isn't to bring them here. It can't be, logically speaking. It really would solve only a very small percentage, but it would create problems at home for many of these countries. Sweden has a good economy, but think of other European countries who don't have this economy. How will they be able to receive so many refugees?
Across the street, Europe's dilemma in the form of a woman who has only just arrived here. Virgel Toma fled war and terrorism in Syria. She survived smuggling routes through Europe, and yet she'd rather not be here anyway.
We didn't want to leave. We lived very well in Syria. We had everything we needed. We left because of the war and the terrorists.
The children at Elafskalan have a head teacher who was born in Austria when the continent was broken, 1944.
We have to look back. What are the European values, actually? There is something rotten in the house of Europe. So I think I'm not scared, but I'm very, very angry about how some countries are handling the whole issue.
Building walls and fences to keep people out isn't the answer, he says. But then it seems being too open doesn't help either. This place is increasingly not integrated, but isolated. Mark Stone, Sky News in Södertälje.
There are
Sweden.
two main routes into Europe, both involving a dangerous crossing in often overcrowded boats. The number of people travelling from Libya to Italy has recently been overtaken by those crossing from Turkey to the Greek islands. The UN says just over 160,000 people have reached Greece so far this year, with the overwhelming majority likely to qualify for refugee status. 4/5 are fleeing the war in Syria. Just over 5,000 of them had applied for asylum in Greece by May this year. The rest have moved on. So where are they heading? For some, the aim is to go further north, through Macedonia and Serbia, to try to get to the border with Hungary. Why Hungary? That marks the start of the EU's Schengen zone. Once inside, people can travel through borders without passports. Many, though, are staying put. In the first 6 months of this year, more than 66,000 people applied for asylum in Hungary. More than 170,000 applied in Germany. But the German government says that number reached 218,000 applications last month, with Syrians making up the largest group. Some travel even further north. 28,000 people have applied for asylum in Sweden so far this year. In comparison, you can see that far fewer applied in the UK. Of course, these show the number of people applying for asylum, and not all are accepted. Only 45% of applications were granted by EU countries last year. But that number rises to 95% for people from Syria. Of all the people who've crossed the Mediterranean into Europe so far this year, a third were fleeing the war in Syria, by far the biggest proportion.